Hello and welcome to video 6 in my Modelling in Maya series. What we're going to do in this video is continue working on the detail pass on our base mesh. The focus this time will be adding more definition to the arms, as well as building detail into the hands and fingers. Before we get into that, I have a really quick question for you. How would you like to help support the future of this channel and keep these videos free? Well, there are a few options. One would be to simply treat me to a coffee at my coffee page as a quick and easy thank you. You could also grab something from the antCGi store or one of my other online stores like QBrush and Gumroad. This is where you will also find the course files that go with this course, so you can download and follow along. However, for as little as 99p a month, you could join the antCGi club. Now there are a few ways you can join. You could head over to my Patreon or Coffee pages, or simply hit that join button below this video. In short, the more support I get, the more time I can dedicate to creating more high quality content just for you. To get more information on how you can help, follow the link on the screen or in the description below. Okay, that's enough about that, let's get on with the video. So here we have the model we've been working on so far. It has some basic torso detail, but we have pushed it as far as we can without affecting the limbs. Before we look at the arm, I want to adjust this area here, just to rework the topology a little. I want the muscle here to flow towards the armpit more. I'm going to cut along here first, collapse this triangle. This needs to go more into the armpit. Let's cut here so we can turn this into a quad. We can continue this now onto the arm. How about this end on here? So let's triangulate it first. And flip this edge. Turn this into a quad now, but we have a triangle left. Okay, let's maybe try adding a cut here. And we can now make these into a quad. Good. All we've done is move the end on up here now. But that's not a bad thing. Maybe we can collapse these. No, that's not working. Okay, let's triangulate this and turn this into a quad. I'm worried we are getting too many edge loops now, so let's simplify things. We have a single triangle again. But what we can do now is flip these edges to move the triangle towards the middle of the model. And collapse here. Now this doesn't really work. We have a nasty pole here now which ruins the edge flow. Instead, we can flip this edge until it's in the middle of the model. And create a cut here, down from the neck. This will help remove that triangle. Okay, that's better. Now onto the pole. We can cut here, collapse the outer edges, and turn those triangles into a quad again. That flows a lot nicer now. Okay, let's clean the model, and also use the sculpting tools to relax some of that topology. Okay, now that's done, let's look at the arm. With the way the hands are posed, we need to rework the muscles in the forearm. They would be fine if the palms were facing forward, but when face down, the muscles twist, so we should add this into our model. First delete the lower polygons here, just before the hand. We can now rotate the vertices at the end of the arm. And delete these edge loops for now. Now the end is in its new position, we can use the bridge tool to attach it back to the hand. Just like this. The bridge tool will also work on multiple selections, so you don't just need to do it one at a time. So now we have that natural twist, which will help with how the model looks and how it deforms. So when the hands turn up and the palms face forward again, the arm will straighten out. Alright, let's start to add some subtle muscle definition. The first place will be up here, with the bicep. and we can use this open edge which we added earlier too. Let's select the edges which will run around the bicep. Just check the model sheet and connect these to cut them. Let's remove this triangle, and we can now connect these edges here to close the loop. If you see, we already have an edge loop we can use on the inside of the arm. So let's connect that to the one we just added. And collapse these. And this to again close the loop. We can use that extra topology now to define the muscle a little more. Let's adjust it here too. Let's look at the forearm now. And what we are trying to do with this pass is focus more on topology than the anatomy being exact. Once the topology is in and we have the edge loops we need, we can come back later and go over the model as a whole, adjusting it and focusing more on anatomy and deformation. So let's add another cut here running down to the wrist. This will eventually help when adding the hand details, plus it will define some of the muscles in this area. And let's follow this up and around here. You see, I'm trying not to add too many edge loops and instead work with what we have. It may be that some of these don't work, like on the forearm here, but we can come back to those later with fresh eyes. There's probably too much of a crease here, so let's soften this area. Okay, let's look at the elbow. For this area, I'm going to select the faces around the elbow and extrude them. And now just scale these down and adjust the shape. We could probably use another loop around here. This will help remove that triangle. Might be time to delete the history too. Let's clean this up a little with the relax tool. This area feels a little too dense, so we can try to optimize it. I'll just undo that, move this area up, and rework the topology. Okay, so we did all that and we've ended up with pretty much the same result as we had before. Let's add that edge back in. We need another edge loop now running around the inner elbow and around the back. Just remove this triangle now. Also this one here. And we can adjust these to get rid of that triangle. That's better, much happier with the topology here. Okay, let's move back up to the shoulder and scapular area. Add a new edge loop running under the armpit and around the deltoid muscle. We can clean this area up now, just like we have many times before. Maybe a bit harsh at the moment. So let's continue this up and across. And relax the area now. I'm not liking that crease. We want it to be more subtle. Now we want another edge loop across the top. Collapse here to route that loop back around. And add another loop around the deltoid. Let's collapse this to close the n-gon. We can try flipping this edge here to relocate the triangle. OK, we can add a new loop now running up between her shoulder blades, which we can use to turn the triangle into a quad. So we are starting to get some subtle detail into her back now, which means we are drifting away from her arm, but this is a good example of why we left the torso where we did, because I knew we would end up coming back to it as we started working on the shoulder. You find that you end up following the edge loops and they start to lead you to where they want to go, so you inevitably end up working on other parts of the body. You'll find that everything is connected and influenced by everything else. So we are getting topology in place now, which we can use to adjust the shapes later. Let's look at this n-gon now. Maybe try adding an edge loop here and connecting that. No, I don't like that. Let's go this way instead. And follow around here and up to the clavicle. Ah, we missed an edge here. That's better. We can use this now to enhance the crease here and the shape here. With this open edge here, let's just guide this to the middle of the model. And we can use that edge loop to add more of a recess beneath the clavicle here. Time to work on the overall shape now. And relax the topology. Let's disable smooth mesh for a second, so you see the difference between the model we are actually working on and the smoothed version. Let's soften those hard edges and delete the history. And do a few more tweaks and adjustments now. So I'm happy to take a break from the arm now, so let's look at adding detail into the hand and the fingers. When trying to tackle an area like the hand or feet, I find it better to break it down into manageable parts. So I tend to focus on building one finger or toe first, and then we can adjust that and repeat it for the other digits. So let's build a finger. We're going to start with a cylinder, makes sense really. Set axis divisions to 8 and height divisions to 12. Let's also change the axis to X so it's orientated the right way. Press F to focus on it. Just move it up. And apply the clear shader to it too. We can scale it now so it's longer, like a finger. And also soften the edges. we need to remove the cap at the back of the finger because this is going to be connected to the hand eventually. And at the front we just want to turn these triangles into 4 quads, so remove every other edge, just like this. We want to define the knuckles now, so count 4 polygons in from the back and select the edge loop. Scale this slightly and move it up too to make it more obvious. Move another 4 polygons in and repeat the process for the next knuckle. So you see, we are starting to define the different sections. Press 3 to enable smooth mesh mode so we can see how it's looking. Okay, good. Now use soft selection to start adjusting the overall shape. Press B to enable it, and then hold B and drag with the middle mouse button to adjust the influence. So the base should be thicker, and the tip thinner. Actually, I'm going to undo that and increase the influence so it's more of a gradual taper. Something like this. And now we can adjust the tip. Okay, so what we need now are a few more edge loops around each knuckle. That's one, and now the other. Let's adjust the shape of the tip a bit more now. Make sure you are using reference or just look at your own fingers for guidance. Right, let's add the fingernail now. To do this, simply extrude the 4 quads on top of the fingertip and scale it in slightly and push it back into the finger. Now we have that, we can get a better overall picture of how the finger is shaping up, so we can revisit the shape. We need another extrude on the fingernail now, so we can add more of a crease around it. If you wanted, you could always extract or detach the fingernail so it's a separate object. This will give more of a defined crease around it. What we can do now is use those extra edge loops we added around each knuckle to add more of a crease. So we can simply select the faces and scale them, bringing them together. And work our way up so the edges fan out towards the top. This will work well too when the fingers are animated and have to bend. We can adjust these a bit more now so they form the knuckles. Now we have that base topology, we can adjust the proportions using soft selection. This section is too long. Let's adjust this here. And also here. Remember, we just want a generic finger shape. Also keep it straight for now too. Let's add some more definition to the knuckles now. We can extrude the 4 quads on top of each. There's one. And the other. A bit more shape adjustment. This still looks too long. We can maybe optimise this section now it's smaller. And let's adjust the nail. Okay, let's bring back the main lighting. At this stage, it's just shape refinement, so we can tweak it as much as we like until we are happy to move on. Don't worry about adding too much detail at this stage though. So there, we have one generic finger. The next step is to turn this into 4 fingers and a thumb, and then attach them to the hand. Before we do that though, we need to add a bit more topology to the current hand model, so it's easier for us to attach the fingers. An extra edge loop down each should work. Just fix this one we missed. We also need another running around the outside and inside of each finger too. Be careful when adding these edge loops that you don't accidentally add one to the rest of the arm. So let's just deselect these edges. So you see, we now have 8 divisions around each digit, which matches the finger we built. While we are here, we can also add an extra edge loop around the main hand too. Okay, just clean this up. And that's ready for the fingers now. Here we have that same generic finger we created earlier, just duplicated, reshaped and posed. We even used it for the thumb. You see, I tried to match the model sheet with their placement and pose. First, let's combine them into a single model. And delete the history. We are now going to join these across the middle, and all we do is select the 4 inner edges, 2 on each side, and bridge them, like this. And now we need to divide those bridges down the middle. Let's bring back the main model now. We don't need the dummy fingers anymore, so delete those. And the thumb. The old hand looks out of place. Ah yes, it's way off. So let's move that first so it's roughly in the right place. With soft selection, you can adjust how the fall off works. At the minute, it's set to volume. Let's switch to surface, and with this option the fall off will only affect the geometry which is attached to the selection. So you see, it's not selecting the thigh even though that falls into the blue fall off circle. If we wanted to affect the thigh, we could change this to volume, and the fall off now touches the thigh. So with what we are doing to reposition the hand, we don't want to affect the thigh, so we need the fall off setting to surface. Okay, let's adjust this. We can now start to attach the fingers to the hand. First though, we need to combine the two. And delete the history. Because we altered the original model when we combined the fingers, we lost the instance on the opposite side. So let's recreate that before we move on. First, move the pivot point, press Insert, and holding X, snap the pivot to the grid so it's in the middle of the body. Now go to Edit, Duplicate Special, and we don't need to open the options. We can just use the previously set ones because we haven't changed them. Right, now she's whole again, let's attach the fingers. I'm going to drop out of smooth mesh mode while we do this. It just makes the vertices easier to find and weld. Well, the camera is all over the place. Just select some vertices and press F to focus in this area. Now use the Target Weld tool to work your way around and connect the vertices. So you see we have a mismatch here with the topology. So let's weld every other vertex in this area instead. We can come back and add another edge loop to connect the other vertices. Right, those are done, so now let's add in those edge loops. This time hold V and snap the hand vertex to the fingers vertex. You could now merge the vertices like this, using Merge to Center. If we enable Smooth Mesh again, we can see that merged because it's smoothed. The others which aren't merged are still hard-edged. Because all the vertices are close to each other though, we could just use the Merge Vertices tool. So just select all the vertices like this, and go to Merge Vertices and open the options. I'll reset this. We can use the default threshold because we only want to weld the vertices that are in the same place. If I apply that, it's worked and welded those for us. Let's look at the other side now, and we will probably need a few more edge loops here so we can connect the fingers. Hold V again and snap the vertices. We added one too many edge loops here. We can delete this one. All we need to do now is merge the vertices like before. That's the fingers connected. We could use an extra edge loop here. And now we can adjust the overall shape, filling out the hand a little. And the knuckles. Let's delete the history. And now relax the topology. Okay, good. We can move these closer to the fingers now, so we get more of a crease and also fill out the palm a little. Let's add another loop around the wrist. We can extend some of these edges here. We can use this topology to help with the tendon detail on the back of the hand. Let's look at connecting the thumb now. And this is pretty straightforward really. Just use the bridge tool first. We can weld these vertices. and now cuts here so the topology matches, and then bridge here. This bridge won't work just yet, so we can fill this in later. Let's move around the side and add another bridge here. Snap this vertex to this one and weld it. So with smooth mesh enabled, we can see those are welded now. That hole can also be filled. Let's look at the other side. So we need to rework the topology here to match the thumb. So let's cut here and remove this. Okay, I'm going to remove these and add a few more cuts here. Now we can bridge here and divide this. Now we can look at filling the rest of the holes. Okay, this works. Let's enable smooth mesh to make sure it looks okay. Right, we have a crease here. So welding those doesn't really work. It doesn't give me the right topology. So let's delete this quad instead, and also clean the model. And then we can just fill the hole again. That's fixed it. So there we go, the hand with the fingers and thumb attached. What we need to do now is rework the hand topology to clean it up while also adding some more detail. So to make things easier, I'm just going to detach the hand so we can focus on it. I just select the faces and then use extract faces to separate it. And I also make sure I delete the history too. And now isolate the hand model. First we need to adjust the thumb size. It looks a little long. And now rework the topology on top of the hand. You will see that we have lots of n-gons here, and sometimes these are unavoidable, especially when you have an area with more detail next to one which has less detail, like the fingers and the hand and the wrist. Don't stress yourself out though trying to remove them all. Simply make sure they are in places that don't deform too much, or that aren't visible. Or you could be creative and use them in areas where you need that extra bit of detail. Now this section is quite long and I don't want to just repeat myself, so I'm going to speed up the video a little. All I'm doing is adjusting the shape and reworking the topology, just using things that you've learned over the last few videos. Keep in mind where the natural creases are in the hand, like here between the thumb and the index finger. This needs to be very flexible because it stretches and compresses a lot. So we need the edges to flow nicely between them. On top of the hand, rework the edge loops so they more closely match the tendons, which run onto the arm. This can be tricky to do though, so feel free to play around and experiment. You can also use the same technique we adopted on the fingers for the main knuckles. You can extrude the quads to give yourself some extra detail to play with, and then relax them back into the model. Adding these will also help as the fingers move and flex. Okay, let's look at the palm now. The thenar area, which is the area at the base of the thumb, needs filling out. If you look at your own hand, you'll see that this is a lot fuller. And we should try and adjust the topology to match the natural creases in the palm. That's a good starting point, but we can come back to it. So let's fill out the area close to the fingers. Add an edge loop around the wrist. And work on the hypothenar area now, which is the opposite side to the thenar. And we just need to fill that out too, so it's a little puffier. Now at this stage I wouldn't usually spend this amount of time detailing the hand, but I just thought while I'm here I may as well continue and flesh it out a little. The finger sizes need adjusting again. Let's see if we can rework the topology here to get a better edge flow. You will find that some of the edge loops can actually loop back around onto the hand, meaning that you can eliminate some triangles and n-gons. Alright, so I think I'm going to leave the hand here just for now. There is more we can do on it, but I feel like we should move on. Now this video is in danger of getting too long. And like I said earlier, I ideally want to keep these around the half-an-hour mark. So let's combine it back to the body and merge the vertices around the wrist. And do a few more quick adjustments. So the arm is quite low, so it could make working on the hand when it's attached difficult from some angles because the camera will move into the model. Let me show you how to quickly raise it. First select the lower arm geometry. You can now hold Shift and use the full stop key or the greater than key to grow the selection. You can also hold Shift and use the comma or less than key to shrink the selection. Grow the selection so it's just before the armpit. Now press B to enable soft selection and then hold B and increase the fall off slightly. We can press Insert now to adjust the pivot point for this selection and move it up to just inside the armpit area. You can now rotate the arm to raise it. And then fill out the shoulder. We can now go back to working on the hand without worrying about the camera going inside the geometry. So, while we're here, let's just do a few more tweaks. Alright, let's recreate the opposite side now. So just as before, snap the pivot to the grid at the middle of the model and use Duplicate Special to create a mirrored instance. Alright, I can't help myself, I'm just going to do some general tweaks before we move on. I told you I get easily distracted, but you will find this happens too. You are so focused on one area that when you come back to the full model, some other areas just leap out at you that they need reworking, and you have to do them then and there, otherwise you will forget. And we could probably use the sculpting tools just to help fill out some areas. Okay, right. I think it's time to stop. We have the arm and hand detailed now, although we will come back to them later. So next, let's look at bringing the legs up to the same level as the hand, and I think we will also give her some toes too. Okay, that's another video over. Thanks for watching right to the end, and make sure you also check out some of the other free videos and courses that I have available. You can find links to all these on the screen now and in the description below. Remember, to help support future content and keep these videos free, visit the antCGi store or join the antCGi club. Alternatively, if you would just like to show your appreciation for these videos, why not treat me to a coffee at my coffee page? Again, the link is on the screen now and in the description below. Thanks again for watching. This is antCGi signing off, and I will see you on the next one.